Hello and welcome to Teach, Read, Play. Today's video we will be exploring geography terminology, climate change and writing across the curriculum. Please comment, like and subscribe to see more content like this. Climate change, pollution and global warming are some of the topics that have been very prevalent in the national curriculum in the last few years. I've taught these topics across the school and noticed that lots of the children become particularly passionate about these topics and wanting to make a change. Therefore, this year with my Year 4s, we have been looking at climate change, what the effects are on the globe, living things and the way that we are living our lives. At the beginning of the academic year, I introduced the critical question to my children: what factors affect climate change? At the beginning of the academic year, I introduced the critical question to my children: what factors affect climate change? Since asking the children this question, we have started to break down the topic as a whole, breaking it down into 6 different units of work. Initially, we started off with predicting what we think climate change is. We then spent some time investigating what climate change is. We did this through the use of research and also videos that I explored with the children. The children started to identify that climate change were things that were happening across the globe. Things like pollution, emissions, burning of fossil fuels, rising temperatures and melting of ice caps. The children became very passionate about looking at the different methods of transport and how we travel. Also thinking about the way that we waste foods and what we can do about it. We then explored what greenhouse gases were and identified the relationship between burning of fossil fuels, pollution, greenhouse gases and deforestation. The children then identified how this became an increasing problem across the globe, creating the ozone layer and trapping in carbon dioxide and other poisonous gases. The children became very passionate about deforestation being an issue that they wanted to unpick and explore. We also looked at the different elements of greenhouse gases and how we can reduce the carbon dioxide that we are creating as a whole. Later, we looked at different elements of climate change, including the heating of the globe, also known as global warming. Global warming has been a prevalent problem across the globe. It's been spoken about and discussed for many years, but the globe is warming up at a detrimental stage. The children became very passionate at thinking about different ways that we can slow the rapid increase of the temperatures across the globe. They identified some of the issues that come with global warming. After identifying what greenhouse gases are, the children were able to write an extended piece of writing about greenhouse gases and the effect that it's having on the globe. These are some of the written outcomes from the children in Year 4. Writing across the curriculum is something that I'm very passionate about. This was the perfect opportunity to get the children to start writing about why greenhouse gases are a problem and what they are. Later, we spent some time analysing and identifying the effect of climate change on humans, animals and living things. We used a range of resources and explored this on Nearpod and using Google Slides. The children loved the interaction and were able to use the internet to help them explore using a range of videos and research to help them. They then were able to identify what effect this had on humans and living things. To consolidate some of the children's learning so far, we spent the next period of time looking at different graphs and research and analysing and interpreting the data. We've been working on climate change and understanding what climate change is. So here I've created some slides about analysing and interpreting data about climate change. We'll watch a video together about climate change and then answer some questions. I've then created a task to work in groups researching and analysing data. As a plenary, we'll come back together and discuss the results and our interpretations. This was an area that I felt passionate about with the children. It was important for us to identify what scientists have already know and geologists have found out about global warming and climate change. Once we looked at the different data, the children began to feel more confident in some of their understanding. After this, we created our own essay. Here is how we started to build on our essay style writing to interpret and analyse the information that we have on climate change so far. Here is how I got the children to write across the curriculum. At the beginning of the lesson, I asked the children to recall what they could remember about climate change using geographical terminology. I then unpicked the different figures and line graphs that we had seen in our research. We then spent some time looking at the graphs. Whilst looking at the graphs, I modelled how to interpret each graph and what it meant in relation to global warming. For instance, the global climate change increasing and what effects that has on living things and habitats. We then looked at figure 3, which was the Amazon rainforest, and the way that deforestation had taken place, reducing the trees and the rainforest in the Amazon. I then introduced the task of writing an essay to the children, whilst including some key vocabulary that I would like the children to use. I carefully chose the key vocabulary that we had used in the topic, so I was aware that the children knew what this terminology meant. I then unpicked an essay structure. I showed the children how to write an introduction, each paragraph that would need to be included, and the conclusion. To begin, I showed the children how to write an introduction for their essay. I started off with the reasons why we were writing the essay. I then showed them how to use the terminology. I then introduced cohesive devices using, in addition to carbon dioxide increases, as an opener. I then modelled how to use human and living organisms and including those to their sentence structure. At the end of their essay, I showed them how to write a conclusion to summarise what they had been speaking about so far and what the events were. The last element of this unit of work was to identify how certain areas are affecting climate change and what we can do to stop and reduce the change now. Thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and remember to turn your notifications on to see more content like this. Bye bye!